Hi everyone. This is James with the Ultimate Show and ADL updates, or whatever we call our page. I think it's that. The Ultimate Show. Let's just say that. Hope everyone's doing well today. So we're doing a bit of a different format than we normally do. Me, Ben, and Andrew actually going to make our own videos and have them posted and that kind of nature. Just because we want to make a video for Championship Weekend, obviously. But due to scheduling conflicts, we can't collab on a video, and this is actually be fun, so we can get our different opinions and topics out, and in a timely manner too. And you guys can watch all three videos, or if they choose to put them all together, I don't know how Ben's gonna edit it necessarily, but I'm gonna dive right in. So Championship Weekend, will be August 25th and August 26th. Let me check my calendar. I should have done this beforehand, actually. I feel dumb. Yeah, the 26th and 27th is the date of Championship Weekend. So, here are the four teams we have for Championship Weekend. We have the Madison Radicals. We're 12-2, the number 1 seed. We have the Dallas Roughnecks, 11-3, and number 2 seed. Toronto Rush, number 3 seed, 11-3. And San Francisco Flamethrowers, 11-3, in the number 4 seed. Very similar to last year's bracket, actually, where Madison was number 1, Dallas number 2, Toronto number 3, and the Western Division champion was number 4. So this is very similar to this bracket, and what this means is the teams that will be playing each other will be Madison and San Francisco in the semifinals, and Dallas versus Toronto in the semifinals, and of course, both the winners advance to the finals, and then champion. Now, as the general rule of thumb is, ideally the number 1 seed has that advantage to where they play the last game, so they have a bit more rest. So Dallas and Toronto will ideally play the first game, and Madison, San Francisco play the second game. That's how it generally has played out at Championship Weekend, and that's probably how it is again today. I mean, not today. For this Championship Weekend. So I'm gonna get into who I think's gonna who I think's gonna go to the ADL Championship, and who I think's gonna win the ADL Championship. I'm gonna go into the game which I think will be slated first. It'll actually be Dallas versus Toronto. Now, of course, this was the first year that we saw the Cross Coast Challenge. Both of these teams were involved in that. We saw Dallas go to Madison, and we saw Toronto go to San Francisco. Both of these teams won their Cross Coast Challenge against their possible championship opponents. So both of these teams are at least capable of winning outside of their division this year, Dallas and Toronto. Toronto had their worst season ever, 11-3. Dallas had their worst record in 2 seasons at 11-3. They lost 3 more games than they did last year, where they went undefeated. This is actually a fairly good game. Dallas still has still has a good, still has most of their people from last year. They lost Bo Kittredge and Cassidy Rasmussen, yes, but they did gain some great players. Jay Frood, Abe Coffin, people like that, who has honestly made a lot of plays for Dallas. Of course, they still have Spike Zilla, Dylan Freechild. Can't forget about him. They still have Jimmy Mickle. So they still have a lot of other names. I don't know every Ultimate player to ever exist, guys. But anyways, the point is they still have a pretty stacked roster. And they showed the number 2 seed in the South, and the South is pretty deep this year. As number 2 seed in the South, they still went and they did their thing. They won the South Division title, the South Division playoff title. Now they're here in Championship Weekend, and honestly, the playoff title is a little bit more important than the regular season title. I'm sorry, Raleigh. Now they're here in Championship Weekend. Toronto actually won the regular season East Division title, and then won the playoff title in a very good game against DC. Where I actually predicted DC to win the East, but Toronto proved me wrong. Um, and it's this game is kind of, honestly a bit weird because Dallas is still sticking with the same defense, really, that they have had the entire year and most of last year, which allowed them, and they picked up defenders like Jay Fruit and Abe Coffin as well from Madison. So Dallas really has a strong defensive game, which allowed them to take out an offensive powerhouse like Raleigh. Because Raleigh is still an offensive powerhouse in the South Division. So is Jacksonville, and their defense allowed them to slow down both Jacksonville and Raleigh. Toronto's offense, they have a good offense. I can't say they don't have a good offense, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to get past the Dallas's defense. And that's just one thing. Toronto's probably going to have an issue with Dallas. But the other thing is Toronto, their defense, this is probably their worst defensive year ever. Their defense has really had an issue this year. Now, mind you, they went 11-3, but that's also because they've had a strong offense, something that Raleigh struggled with the last 2 years. They had a powerful offense, but their defense was not as good. And so Toronto has had to rely on their offense because of their defense constantly making mistakes. Now, defense is hard to play in Ultimate, it is. But Toronto's defense has not been as solid as the rest of their Eastern Division counterparts. In fact, New York, even registering 7-7, still had the best defense in the East. They still did. Toronto was actually number 3. It was actually number 3 defense in the East this year. Like, they've had to rely on their offense, and they've had to rely on the other team making mistakes. And the things that go into their defensive rating is not only how many blocks or Ds they've had this season, but also how long it takes for an opponent to score on them. So that also goes into play. So when an opponent is receiving the disc, how many throws it takes for them to actually score. And Toronto is actually among the least in throws taken to score. You can't do that with Dallas. Your offense has to be strong, and your defense has to be just as strong to take out Dallas. And that's something that Raleigh and Jacksonville had in the South Division this year that allowed them to get wins over Dallas. Now, unfortunately, it did not allow for playoff wins, but it allowed for wins. Okay, I predict Dallas going to the finals, just because it's a safe bet. I'm not guaranteeing it, but I'm saying that Toronto is really going to step up their game if they expect to beat Dallas. Dallas is obviously a heavy favorite, probably not just for this game, probably to repeat. So I'm predicting Dallas over Toronto, and I'm going to go into the next game. We have the Madison Radicals, their 5th consecutive championship weekend, just like Toronto. We have the Madison Radicals versus the San Francisco Flamethrowers, who are making their championship weekend debut after winning their first playoff game in franchise history against the Los Angeles Aviators to win the Western Division title. Now, San Francisco, of course, is obviously looking good at the beginning of the season, where they got Bo Kittredge and Cassie Rasmussen and grabbed a whole lot of people from the Spiders who won 2 championships in a row. And by that, I mean they grabbed people from the championship Spiders team. Like, they didn't just grab Spiders from this team. Like, they grabbed actual ones that won championships with the Spiders. Then you have Madison Radicals. Literally no one on this team has won a championship. They're actually the only team, fun fact, they're the only team in championship weekend this year without a person on their team winning a single championship. So no one on the Madison Radicals has ever won an AUDL championship. That may change. They are the number 1 seed for a reason. However, we all know the Madison Radicals' luck when it comes to being paired up with the Western Division champion. The past 3 years, they've been eliminated by the Western Division. San Jose, Seattle with that amazing comeback. Now, of course, it's just 3 years and only 2 different opponents, so it's hard to say, oh, Madison can't beat the Western Division. However, I do think that if that happens again this year, I think we can say that the Western Division is the Madison Radicals' kryptonite. However, I want guys to know this. The Madison Radicals are also now the only team in the AUDL that has went outside of their division to face the Western Division and has not registered a win against the Western Division. They're 0-3 against the Western Division. That means the 2 times they played San Jose and Seattle. Toronto is 1-2 against the Western Division. Their 1 win against San Francisco and their 2 losses against San Jose. Dallas is 1-0 against the Western Division. Their win against Seattle last year. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's pretty much for all the cross coast, for all the interdivision series. The point is, Madison does not have much luck when it comes to the Western Division. But I can't just say that, okay? San Francisco also has Bo Kittredge. He's a 3-time AUDL champion now. He's going for his 4th. True, he has not been the most standout player this year, but he does have championship experience. He does have that drive to win that you don't see. Well, you do see it a lot. And you see in a lot of sports what one player can do. I mean, with the NFL, you have players like Tom Brady. In the NBA, you have players like LeBron James. True, they do not, their success does not always end up in wins, but it ends up a lot of times in success. LeBron James has 3 championships. He does have 5 losses in the finals, but he still has 3 championships. Tom Brady has 5 Super Bowls. He does have 2 losses in Super Bowls, but he also has 5 Super Bowls. The point is that one player can make a big difference, especially when they have championship experience and leadership ability like Bo Kittredge does. He's probably the most decorated player in the AUDL because of his multiple world championships. And he has 1 college championship and then 3 AUDL titles. He has club titles. He is a winner. He's a known winner in the Ultimate community. Has he won every single that was my phone, guys. Has he won every single finals that he's ever been to? No. But he's won quite a bit. He's put up the stats over his career that's made him into the player he is today. He's a consistently good player. He always adds depth to his team. He's just an X factor that you have to account for. Now, can the Madison Radicals account for him? Yes, they can. I cannot say that they're not going to be able to account for Bo Kittredge or anyone. And Bo Kittredge isn't the only one on the San Francisco Flamethrowers. There's Antoine Davis, a player that I like watching because I like seeing the plays that he's capable of making. I'm sorry, guys. Cassidy Rasmussen. I'm trying to remember a lot of the Flamethrowers, and I can't think of them all right now, which is weird. I think Ashlyn Joy is a Flamethrower. Anyways, so you have players like Bo Kittredge, Antoine Davis, Cassidy Rasmussen, and others like us. Greg Cohen. I like Greg Cohen too. He's a great player. Who's definitely one of the reasons why San Jose beat Madison 2 years ago in the finals. But we see those types of players step up. Madison is known for their defense. They still have probably one of the best defenses in the league. There's no arguing that. San Francisco also has a great defense this year too. I mean, this is a battle of. So we have 2 defensive juggernauts because San Francisco really does focus a lot on defense. We have 2 defensive juggernauts clashing, in which now we have to look at offense Because defense is going to match defense. But defense doesn't play against each other. This is offense versus defense. You take turns on offense and defense, guys. And this is not just from my bias of Madison, but honestly, San Francisco has the offensive advantage. Now, this is an opinionated statement this is slightly an opinionated statement from me, but they definitely have an experienced handler core. They definitely have very shifty cutters that are very good at getting open. Madison is kind of like the Spurs of the AUDL. You know, the way they play is very conservative. They don't take a lot of big shots. And, you know, they try to just drive down the field. And I can respect that. I totally can. You know, it's worked for them. So, you know, you can't really say anything bad about it. San Francisco is not as conservative as Madison. They like taking big shots. And honestly, that's what Madison wants you to do. You know, they try to force you to take big shots. San Francisco is also not afraid. Like, I watched a lot of San Francisco's games, and they're probably through more hucks than really any other team in the AUDL, other than, like, Jacksonville. So, I mean, San Francisco is not conservative at all. They're very aggressive. They'll take it right to you the very moment. Madison's a little like that on defense. So we have an aggressive offense versus an aggressive defense. San Francisco kind of has a conservative defense versus Madison's conservative offense. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see like how the matchups play out. Personally, I think San Francisco is going to take it by a slight margin because I feel like they're going to just – I know it's going to be a great game, San Francisco and Madison, but I think San Francisco just has the experience over Madison. Now, neither one of these clubs have a championship, obviously, but people on one club does and people on another club doesn't. And San Francisco, I mean, obviously they have the Revolver, which is a very decorated club team in San Francisco. A lot of their players play for Revolver and other Bay Area club teams. San Francisco has a lot of experienced players, and they have a lot of experience that Madison can't really hold to. So, unfortunately, I think Madison goes out, and we don't get to see the matchup we wanted last year. Madison versus Dallas. I don't see that happening this year. I think it's going to be Dallas versus San Francisco, which we have San Francisco going for their first title, Bo Kittredge going for his fourth, and a lot of other players going for multiple. We have Dallas looking to repeat. It's going to be an interesting game. And this one would be very hard to call if it does happen. I personally predict San Francisco winning it all. The West Division is known to be very competent when it comes to playing out of division. They're probably one of the most competitive divisions in the UDL. And they're right there with the South as far as talent. And these are definitely probably the two, I would say these are the two best teams in the UDL, Dallas and San Francisco. No disrespect to Toronto, no disrespect to Madison. But I honestly do believe that San Francisco and Dallas are the two most talented teams in the UDL this year. And it's impossible for me to say one team is above the other. They both have outstanding leadership. They both have outstanding talent. But this video is getting long, so I have to pick a winner. And I'm also going to pick San Francisco solely because of depth. I feel like San Francisco has more depth than Dallas does. And depth actually becomes important when especially it's a doubleheader like championship weekend is, when players are tired. You absolutely have to be able to bring your bench onto the field and play with intensity. And San Francisco is definitely capable of doing that. Not saying Dallas doesn't have decent people on their reserves waiting to play. I'm saying San Francisco has a more talented bench. And that's no disrespect towards Dallas. But I see San Francisco hoisting their first AUDL championship. I see Bo Kittredge getting his fourth AUDL championship. I don't think this is going to be an MVP year for him. It really hasn't been. I can't really pick an AEDL MVP. Um, yeah. So, but I want to pick 4 players I think are going to stand out for championship weekend for all 4 teams. Um, honestly, I think Kevin Petit's thing. I don't know. It's KPS, guys. I don't really know. I think he's going to be the biggest standout for Madison. He's going to be a big reason. He's going to be, if Madison does win, he's going to be a big reason why they do. Dallas, I can never shy away from Dylan Freechild. He's a he's a good player. I sometimes don't like his attitude, but he's going to be a big reason why Dallas wins if they do. Toronto, I got to go with the veteran Mark Lloyd. If Toronto wins, he's a former champion. He's been here before. This is going to be his 5th time, actually. I think he's going to be a reason why Toronto wins if Toronto ends up winning. And San Francisco, it would be so easy for me to say Bo Kittredge. It really would be. And I am. I don't know what it is about him in championships. He doesn't shy away from championships. I can literally say anyone else in San Francisco's roster, but I gotta say Bo Kittredge. I would love to say Greg Oden. He was the first person that popped in my head, but I'm gonna say Bo Kittredge. So, yeah. KPS, Dylan Freechild, Mark Lloyd, and Bo Kittredge. Look out for those 4 people at championship weekend. They're most likely going to be making a lot of plays, trying to get their teams to the finals and to hoisting that all great AUDL championship. I'm going to end this video now. May your favorite team win. May the best team win. Whatever team you're rooting for, if you're rooting for a team, hope they win. Hope they do good. If you're just watching to watch, have fun.